Joining us right now to talk all things NFL draft and talk about the latest with both the New York Giants and the New York Jets is SNY New York football insider Connor Hughes. Connor, happy Saturday. Appreciate you hopping on early with us today. What's going on?
No problem, Jake. I appreciate you guys having me, man.
So I know you were at the league meetings. Let's kind of just start with just the biggest takeaways, either Jet or Giants here. What stood out to you in Arizona?
Well, for the Jets, I think it's just the opinion that everybody, or the feeling that everybody's kind of going through right now, where Aaron Glenn seems to be in a really good mood, man, and a really, really good headspace. And I think, sorry, I'm chasing my daughter around the house right now. The joys of fatherhood, right? She's handing me an aerial bubble wand, wanting me to turn it on for her. Aaron Glenn's just in a really good headspace, man. I think that's probably the biggest thing at the moment. And then with Darren Muji, it's just a guy that's clearly business as usual, like he always is, man. I mean, that's a guy that knows what he wants to do. That's a guy that is very locked into the NFL draft, and he thinks he's putting together a team that's ready to compete.
Let's start with the Jets because you went there. All the headlines are about the promised land quote that Glenn said about Geno Smith. We could get to that, but just what else stood out in that 38-minute media session, the other 37 minutes aside from the Geno comment?
Yeah, man, I don't – the promised land – interesting because it's you look at it two ways. The first way is that you absolutely want to make note of it because it is – elite level quote. It's one that when you're talking about it from a Jets perspective, or you're talking about it from a league wide perspective, or you want to make a back page, or you want to talk about it on the radio or on television. I mean, that's it. It's the New York Jets talking about the promised land with Geno Smith. I mean, that's just it's juice. But I think more when you analyze what Glenn was trying to say, and I don't know if it was hyperbole or if it was just exaggeration, or he was trying to do what ended up happening with it. I looked at it more as a guy that was saying that for where the Jets are, there is no better person than Geno Smith. There was no better option in free agency. There was no better option through the trade market than Geno. And so they went out there and they got Geno, and now they're really content and happy with what Geno is going to bring to the team this year. Do they think that Geno Smith is getting to the Super Bowl? No. Do they think Geno Smith is getting to the playoffs? Probably not, but I think that for what they need at this very moment, they have somebody who is a competent NFL quarterback who, when he's on, he's probably a top 12 to 15 player in this league, 15 quarterback in this league, and that's what they just added to their roster. So I think that's kind of what he was trying to say. It just didn't necessarily come out in the best way. As far as what else he said that stood out, I don't think there was anything too crazy. I think when he got emotional towards the end, that showed you really how much this means to him, and it does. It means coaching the Jets, being with the Jets, all that stuff. It means a lot to this guy, and it's the person that you want on the sideline. That this is more than just being a head coach, wanted to turn around for selfish reasons. Like, he really does bleed with this organization and wants to do what's best for them.
I just hear Glenn, speak, right? And this is a guy who a year ago in the same league meeting said he wanted his team to move in silence. And it just feels like every time he has spoken with you guys since, whether it's being combative in pressers or it's at the combine where he's given the superpower quote, and then, whether the Jets deny it or not, it looked like he fell asleep briefly when they showed him on the NFL Network cameras during the workouts for the defensive linemen. It just feels like it just continues to have a misstep, or put the Jets in a spot where they're getting memed by everyone on social media and made fun of. How do you kind of balance Glenn's intentions of he's trying to back his quarterback with, hey, maybe he just went a little too far and just put unnecessary scrutiny on his team and his quarterback?
Yeah, I mean, I agree that you can say he went a little too far, and he did. He probably went a little too far with how praiseful he was of Geno, but also if you're Geno Smith, who's somebody that has kind of throughout his NFL career been somebody who has craved not attention, but just craved validation of somebody believing in you, and just you've wanted that throughout your career. It's not the worst thing to hear your head coach hear it. And if Aaron Glenn doesn't care what the 31 other teams are saying about him, or the media or the press, then it really doesn't matter. And he's going to go out there and he's going to believe in this, and he's going to do it for his team and do it to make Geno Smith feel pretty good about himself. As far as the relationship with the media, you're right, dude. Last year was combative. I mean, it was tense and adversarial without the need for it to be tense or adversarial. I mean, I remember at his introductory press conference, the honeymoon of all honeymoons, when everybody loves him, And he kind of came in that one with the claws out, ready to scratch and fight. And it was like, man, what the heck is this? And then it was the same thing at the owners' meetings last year, or the combine last year, or at different points in training camp in the preseason. It was confrontational, and it was confrontational when there wasn't necessarily reason to be confrontational. And, I don't know if this was just understanding the New York media now further. I don't know if these were people in his inner circle who started talking to him about it, but the Aaron Glenn that I've worked with now the last 2 or 3 months was far different than the Aaron Glenn that I worked with the first year of his career. I mean, this is a guy who is now much more open. He's letting his guard down a bit. He's letting his personality show. He's explaining the why. And that was the big thing, because the most of his first year, when you would want to understand why the Jets or why Aaron Glenn were doing certain things, your answer was basically because I said so. It felt like a parent who didn't want to explain what was going on to their toddler. Because I said so, because I know more than you. And that's not the case anymore. And look, that's a welcome change. That's a fun addition. And as a reporter, it makes my job easier, because now it's not me just aimlessly commenting on what they're doing without any understanding. I now know the why to their method. And it's easier to paint the full picture when you get why the Jets are doing what they're doing. And it also doesn't make them look so crazy like they're just, flying by the seat of their pants here. There is a method to their madness.
Connor Hughes from SNY is our guest here in the Jake Asman Show on ESPN NY. Check out Connor's podcast, Jets Final Drive, available on SNY's digital platforms. Staying with the draft now, Connor, did you get a sense talking with either Aaron Glenn or Darren Muji this week where the Jets are leaning with that number 2 pick?
It would be a very big surprise if that is not Arbel Reese or David Bailey. I mean, if it's not one of those pass rushers, I think that would be a really, really big surprise at this point. I think 16 is the one that's a little bit more of the question. I will say with number 2, I did leave the owners' meetings feeling like if the Jets got a compelling offer, they would love to move back. I think there's a number of players that they would be really, really comfortable with selecting within those first 10 selections, certainly within the first 5 selections. And with feelings you're coming around with one of them, well, you feel really good about yourselves. And then it's just about, wow, if we can get some extra compensation in a talent-rich 2027, or maybe even another pick in the 2nd or 3rd round here that can continue to round out their roster, that seems like pretty smart roster construction and roster team building. The problem is that I just don't necessarily know who's going to be coming up in the NFL draft. I mean, Jeremiah Love would probably be the one person that maybe somebody's trying to jump the Giants for to just know you can go up there and get him, because I don't think anyone within the first 4 selections is taking Love, but the Giants could there at 5. So if you really love him and you really want him, maybe you try to go up there to 2, or maybe even go up to 4 with the Titans to make that pick. But as much as the Jets want to go down, I don't see a team coming up. So they're probably going to sit there and make that pick at 2, and then it's going to be one of those 2 pass rushers, Bailey or Reese. And then I would say the real questions with them just come in at 16 and what they do there.
In terms of 16, we know that Ty Simpson is going to be a name that everyone's discussing. They had the private workout with him. Is he a guy that you think is in play at 16? I mean, I thought he was, and then Glenn said what he said about Geno, so I'm not quite sure. That kind of matches up with, hey, if you believe you got a guy who can take you to the promised land, or you're taking a quarterback who's not going to play in 2026. But just in terms of the options there, and Simpson in particular, did you learn anything about the Jets' interest or maybe lack thereof in Ty Simpson?
I don't think they're uninterested in Simpson, but it would surprise me if he was the pick. That would. Now again, we're talking about, what is it, April 4th. My days are all mixed up here. My head's spinning a bit. But as we stand here today, no, I don't think that Ty Simpson's an option. But look, the draft picture begins to really take shape over these next 2 or 3 weeks. At one point it was, the Giants really seemed like they like J.J. McCarthy, and then a week before the draft, it's like, no, they're locked in on Malik Neighbors. That's who they're taking if they can't trade up for Drake May. And, there was obviously, is it Shador? Is it whatever? And obviously be like, no, the Giants pick's going to be Jackson Dart. It's the same thing with the Jets. It's when you're picking top 5, especially, 2, and even with the first half of the first round selections like 16, you start to really get an understanding of what teams are going to do later on here or in a couple of weeks. Where we stand now, though, I think I'd be pretty surprised if the Jets end up doing Ty Simpson. But again, I mean, that very well could change as more information is able to be gathered and teams remove themselves from free agency and really start putting together their draft boards and having their draft meetings. I would honestly say it's crazy. Actually, bring it up, Jake. Is on Jets Final Drive. We're doing a beat writer mock draft, so we're having beat writers for every team make a selection for their team in the NFL draft. we're all the way to the 49ers selection right now in the first round as we're piecing this together, and Ty Simpson still hasn't gone. So I know there's a lot of hype and there's a lot of talk, and there's some media fodder that have fanned the flames of what Ty Simpson can be. But these reporters who cover these teams, like I said, dude, we're closing in on, like, I think 5 or 6 picks here left in the first round, and Ty still hasn't even gone. So if it's not the Jets, I don't necessarily know where he's going to go.
I'm glad you said that, because it's a perfect follow-up where I was going to go. I do see the scenario. In fact, if I was betting on it, I think he is going to make it to pick 33, and I just wonder if the Jets would feel comfortable taking the swing there, because I think you know this. Like, there's a major difference in taking a chance on a guy in the first round at pick 16 versus doing it in the second round when there's way less pressure on the guy to play, and if it doesn't work out, nothing would stop you from then drafting another quarterback with your 3 first-round picks you have next year.
Correct. Yeah, and you could even, like, say he does show some flashes or whatever. I mean, you could package Ty with one of those first-round picks if you have to move up, and he could be a legitimate piece where, look, he's not going to be viewed as a second-round pick or a first-round pick if he flames out with the Jets next year, but he would probably hold 4th or 5th round value. And then if you have somebody with 4th or 5th round value, you can use that with a first and something else if, say, the Jets, for whatever reason, their best first-round pick is like 7 or 6, and they got to go up there and get to 2 or 3. Simpson could be a valuable piece in there. But I agree, man. I know a lot of people, too. It's a big talking point about, like, oh, you always want to trade up for the quarterback so you get that 5th year of team control. I don't buy that as much, man, just because, like, you see it around the NFL, dude. If a quarterback's worth half a damn, they get a deal after 3 years. They're extended after 3 seasons. They're not making it to the 5th year or franchise tag or anything like that. So, I think at 33, I like Simpson a lot more than we're talking about at 16 or even the Jets trading back up. And like you said, it's one of those things where maybe it works. Maybe he flashes in the preseason. Maybe he shows something in the tail end of next year if he replaces Geno Smith, where you're like, man, this guy's got something. We really think we have something here, similar to how the Giants now feel about Jackson Dart when he got a chance to play, despite the fact he was viewed going into the year as a very green player. Yeah, maybe he is the guy, and then suddenly you have 3 first-round picks to keep rounding it out. But if it didn't work, dude, moving on from his second-round pick to draft somebody top 5 is something we've seen in the NFL before. It was Jimmy Clausen, right? And Cam Newton was one that reminds me, or in Arizona with Josh Rosen and Kyler Murray. I mean, that's a much more easier pill to swallow, though Rosen was, like a top 15 pick, I think.
Connor Hughes is our guest, SNY Jets and Giants reporter, talking all things Jets. We'll get to the Giants coming up, but just another follow-up on the Jets. So both Glenn and Muji noted how they really like their wide receiver room. I just hope as a Jet fan, Connor, that's more posturing than anything else, because I think it's clear if you look at their room outside of maybe the Dolphins, the Jets might have the worst wide receiver room in football, and they actually have a true number 1 in Garrett Wilson that's coming back.
Yeah, I fully expect them to add a receiver. I think 16, whether it's Cooper, I don't know if Tate, Tyson, or Lemon are falling to him, but I think Cooper is somebody that could be there for him, and that would be interesting because that allows Garrett Wilson to play more outside with some inside flexibility, but more outside with him moving in there in the slot primarily. But I would be a few things in the NFL surprise me. If the Jets don't come away with a wide receiver here on day 1 or day 2 of the draft, that would be one of the things that surprises me. They know that, man. I like A.D. Mitchell. I know the Jets are really high on A.D. Mitchell, but Garrett Wilson, A.D. Mitchell, and then insert other player here looks a lot better than what they have at their disposal at the moment.
You've had some great reporting on Brian Thomas Jr. of the Jaguars potentially being available in a deal. What's the latest with that, and what is like the asking price of that player? Would it take one of the Jets' second-round picks, pick 44? Is it going to be less than that? Is he not going to be traded? What's the latest with Brian Thomas Jr.?
It's again, I know what has come out of Jacksonville. I know what they've said. That's also what they have to say, because if they don't end up trading the player, it's going to be the same thing. Quinnen Williams is a perfect example of that. If Quinnen Williams did not get traded to the Dallas Cowboys, Quinnen is not sitting there saying, oh, yeah, I did request a trade. Because that makes him look bad. That makes the general manager look bad. It makes all that stuff look bad. From my understanding, it's what I continue to hear, is if they get a compelling offer, they're willing to move him if they get a good offer. That's the thing. They're not shopping him for pennies on the dollar. This isn't one of those things where the Jaguars are going to move him to the highest bidder. It's if they get an offer that they like, they're willing to move Brian Thomas. Now, will they get that? Will it be a second-round pick? Will it be a second and a 4? I don't know. I don't see him getting a first-round pick or what even the Broncos got for Jalen Waddle, but there would be interest in him, and I think that would be something that I would keep an eye on here as we approach the draft and they get into the draft.
Switching to the Giants now, it feels like there's a lot of buzz for the Giants to take Jeremiah Love, the running back, at number 5. What's the latest with that potentially, and just your thoughts overall on what their options will look like with that 5th overall pick?
Yeah, Sonny Styles or Jeremiah Love are probably going to be one of those two guys is probably going to be the pick for the Jets. I think Styles is a fascinating one because, I mean, you could see him going to the Titans. You could see him going to the Cardinals. I think what Arizona does there is a fascinating one because if it does go pass rusher, there are 2 and 3. I don't necessarily know if Ruben Bain's worth the 4th overall pick in the draft. So would Robert then pivot and grab somebody that's considered arguably the best player in the draft and Styles? And he's certainly a guy whose defenses were best, whether it was with Jamie Sherwood and Quincy Williams or Fred Warner. I think that would be something that he could potentially consider. And then it's Jeremiah Love would be the one that would fall to the Giants. Okay, honey, thank you. And then, yeah, I think that would be, yeah, my wife, of course, like, right, my wife is 8 months pregnant, and she turns to me, she goes, hey, do you mind if I go get, like, my nails done? And I'm like, all right, let's be the good husband and let her go. And then, of course, I'm sitting. My daughter's been like a little angel sitting on the couch all day, and now this phone rings and she's all over me now about wanting to parent. But
look at you, Dad of the Year stuff, Connor. Well done.
I'm trying here, and like I said, my daughter makes it easy. But I will say that the big thing with Jeremiah Love, and the one reason why it's the noise is getting louder, specifically when it comes to the Giants, is that they very clearly believe right now they are not in the same position they were when they let Saquon Barkley walk, or that they were when they drafted Saquon Barkley 2nd overall. They have the young budding franchise quarterback on a franchise quarterback contract. They have the number 1 overall receiver. They have an offensive line that, while it's not the best line in the NFL, it is a line that is the best that they've probably had, albeit they have that hole at right guard within the last 10 to 12 years, maybe longer. So they feel they are in a position where if their board falls and the best player on their board is Jeremiah Love, it's not this grotesque, asinine thing to have him make that pick, or to have them make that selection and have it be Jeremiah Love. I think that will it be the pick? Hype's growing. And the other thing to remember too, Jake, is that this team was willing to make a serious, and they did make a serious run at Kenneth Walker. And if you're willing to go out there and pay $13+ million a year to Kenneth Walker, you're telling me it's not at all possible that they draft the running back 5th overall and have him under team control for 5 or 6 years. So that would be something I would keep an eye on. But gun to my head right now, I think it's probably Styles or Love to the Giants.
If they take Love, what does that mean for Cam Scatterbo, Tyrone Tracy? Obviously, Love is the star. Yeah, they all have roles on the team still, in your opinion?
Yeah. I mean, look at the Ravens. Like, the Ravens had Derrick Henry, and Derrick Henry is their bell cow, but they still use 2 other backs with them as well. I mean, it's not. We are in a day and age here in the NFL, man, where it's you don't usually do it with one back. You need a bunch. And Scatterbo as your physical bruiser, while also you're chasing around Jeremiah Love, and then you mix in Tyrone Tracy as that 3rd guy. I mean, it's in a draft class that doesn't have a Jamar Chase or a top tier wide receiver, and a free agent class that really didn't have one realistically you could go out there and get either, you need to find another way to add playmakers. And the Giants did it by signing Isaiah Likely, and they could do it again by adding Jeremiah Love.
Last one, Connor. OBJ, Odell Beckham Jr. He was making another appearance at the league meetings. He said publicly he wants to come back to the Giants, I'm pretty sure. Is he still a possibility? I know Harbaugh hasn't completely ruled it out when asked about it, but just your thoughts, what have you heard about OBJ's future?
Yeah, I don't know if he said it publicly, but he certainly said it privately. I mean, he's made it very clear to the Giants that he wants to come back. I mean, no, he actually talked to other people around the league and let them know, like, hey, can you call Harbaugh on my behalf and let him know, like, I'm good and I can go and all that stuff. So, like, there's legitimate interest there from Beckham in returning to the Giants. It's just a matter of can they make it happen. I mean, this is a guy who didn't look particularly good when he played 2 years ago, was a complete non-factor with the Dolphins, then sat out all of last season. And I know he looked tremendous in the flag football game, but there's a difference between flag football and the NFL. I mean, there's a very, very big difference. And, with Odell, there's a lot that comes with him, Jake. There is the there's the circus sometimes. He's a lightning rod, polarizing, and you deal with that when he's going off for 1,600 yards and 20 touchdowns a year. I don't know if you really want it when his max capabilities right now is 15 plays a game, something like that. But I think what Harbaugh said is the big thing, is that if he is somebody that can help this team, they're going to pursue it and they're going to do it. And it wouldn't cost much at all, and I know Beckham's willing to sign for about the veteran minimum, and then probably incentives built in there if he does perform. And I don't necessarily know if there's any other team other than the Giants that would be signing Odell, which probably is also why Odell wants to return, because if he could go play with Kansas City or Josh Allen, that would certainly probably put him or be a better spot than the Giants. But yeah, man, I think that. I wouldn't rule it out, would be the best way to describe it. Will it actually happen? It's going to depend on if Harbaugh really wants them or not. If Harbaugh wants them, it'll get done. If Harbaugh doesn't, it won't.
Connor, enjoy your Easter. Good luck with the kid on the lap. Really appreciate you carving out some time, battling through and making this interview possible.
Yeah, I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much.